Howdy, I'm Graeme MacDonald. I'm a fourth generation Napa Valley grape grower and looking forward to walking our old vines in To Kalon with you all. When my great-grandparents bought the property back in 1954, we were planting the first vines since Prohibition. The To Kalon winery, which was famous back in the pre-Prohibition era, had burned down in the 30s, and basically Prohibition wiped clean anybody's desire to plant grapes. So our family was a little nervous about what are we going to do, who are we going to sell them to. So my grandfather connected with Bob Mondavi, and my great uncle, who was the other half of the family, was our family lawyer as well. So he wrote a contract with Bob to buy the fruit, and Bob was still at Charles Krug at the time, which was his family vineyard. And that year we set up a contract that was 3 years. The first year was $165 a ton, and we were going to get that for 3 years. So we were really excited about maybe paying our property taxes in the wine business. And the very first year there was a shortage of grapes in the valley, so the market value skyrocketed to $200 a ton or something like that. So our great uncle and grandfather were pretty disappointed themselves. Say, oh my God, we just got into this business and locked ourselves in. So they didn't say anything, and when we got a check in the mail from Bob Mondavi, it wasn't for the contracted price, it was for the market value. Same thing happened the following year. Price went up to 225, and Bob sent a check for that. So my great uncle, who was pretty intimidating, like 6'7", very olive skinned, wrinkly guy, goes into Bob's office with the contract he wrote, starts ripping it up in front of him, puts the contract on Bob's desk and says, "We don't need a contract, just a handshake." The first 6 years of making wine from here, when I was in college, were all experimental. And so I figured you have a certain amount of time in your life to figure it out, so let's get all my mistakes out of the way. And so for the first 6 vintages, I tried everything. I tried high ripeness, low ripeness, new oak, used oak, and what I fell in love with was balance. So the first vintage that we ever actually released was our 2010, after I'd been making the wine since 2004. And I just felt like it captured what was best about these vines, which is hovering on that knife's edge of people who love California. It feels like it's from California, but if you love old world wines, it has all those characteristics too. So we really strive to not fit within a style dictated by criticism or what was popular at the time. In fact, a lot of our mentors told us we were making the biggest mistake of our lives by not making the wine that the leading critic wanted to drink. And so instead we made the wine we wanted to drink. And the idea being, if we couldn't sell it, we'd have to drink it all, so might as well make what you like. So we're at the geological term is the apex of the alluvial fan. So we're at the rockiest portion of To Kalon, and historically in the Robert Mondavi program, where we sold our grapes since when Bob started, and we were their favorite block out of all of To Kalon. And so my grandparents and great-grandparents were very proud of that and loved Bob because he took care of us. We were part of his growth and excitement that happened in the 60s all the way up until they sold the winery. It was a Napa Valley dinner, but he had one mystery wine, and he took the wine he purchased from us, didn't tell us, and served it to this whole group of industry and connoisseurs, and asked them to define what it was. And not a single person got it right. No, everyone was confused. They were in Bordeaux or Italy or some. I think one guy claimed he knew it was Napa, which might have been a fib. But I love that those kinds of wines that challenge people regarding that. And I also think that what we have here is so unique that it shouldn't taste like anything else. And California will always impart its will with all the warm weather we get, so there's always a fruit element. But what I've fallen in love with is the varietal character. The naughty term is the pyrazine, is the scary thing that critics have attacked. But I actually think that's what makes our wine age, and that's what makes our wine, that's our characteristic of our site. So we talk about ripening as the evolution of the pyrazine. And so in the perfect world, it becomes this like beautiful black olive bay leaf. And when my grandparents were making home wines in the 70s, they were basically pure green bean. the way they were picking them, which is maybe a less complex version of that compound. But when you drink those wines today, their aromatics are beautiful and pure. So I think the key to a lot of those classic wines in that early era Napa is not overexposing your fruit to the sun, which degrades that compound. It's actually embracing the fact that Cabernet should taste like the varietal, and that's what I love about it. When we were growing up in the business and working around at other places, my brother and I really reminisced about what our grandparents referred to as old Napa, which was this sort of cultural feeling of hospitality and connection, and people who were building things and pushing things in different directions. So when we started MacDonald, the idea was really to take it back to that. And so I know Napa gets a bad rap for having this idea about exclusivity makes your wines more interesting, which we disagree with. So this has always been a place of learning, a place of sharing our vines with people. The wine is a great catalyst for that, to be able to share wine out in the world and hear good things. But my brother and I are really committed to sharing the wine with the world, and these are very personal products made with our own hands and deeply personal, and we just love the idea of connecting with young and new consumers. We've been so lucky because I view it as we've been a product of the industry, and it's people in the industry that have supported us, somms, other winemakers, farmers, and it reminds me of a Bob Mondavi quote that a rising tide floats all boats.